Parent P, children will need computer skills to deal with tomorrow's world. Computers should be introduced in kindergarten, and computer languages should be required in high school. That's strong. So our conclusion here is computers should be introduced in kindergarten and computer language should be required in high school, which the other day I was looking up stuff for I've been on like a conditional logic kick lately, and I was finding all these videos for how to teach conditional logic to kids for coding purposes. And so I was trying to find one that would work, like, because it's like a computer, like if this happens and you go this direction. I couldn't find a funny one. I was gonna be like, see, fourth graders can do it. We all can do it too. Anyways, Parent Q responds by saying, that would be pointless. Technology advances so rapidly that the computers used by today's kindergartners and the computer languages taught in today's high schools would become obsolete by the time that these children are adults. All right, so Parent Q's conclusion is that would be pointless. And then our question says, which of the following, if true, is the strongest logical counter Parent P can make to Parent Q? So if we are Parent P and we're like, we should introduce computers in kindergarten, what would we want to say? So go ahead and put your predictions in the chat. I'll give everybody, if you want to, I'll give everybody like a minute to think about it, and then we'll go into the answer choices. So think about your prediction. All right, so one person said that give an example about how it will still be the same computers. I get where you're going with that, but the reason that this one is that's not a great prediction is because we have to accept our premises as true. And so when it tells us that the computers used by today's kindergartners, blah blah blah, would become obsolete by the time the children are adults, like we know that the computers are going to change. So we can't just like counter the premise. So that's not the strongest way to go about it. But someone else had, Sabrina, you had a great prediction. You said, my chat's not pulling up, but you said something along the lines of like, but the skill set is the same. And that's excellent. Where it's like, even though like, even think about like even using a phone, right? Phones have changed over time, but we're better able to adapt because we have the skill set of being able to use a phone. So that's great. So if we go through our answer choices, so everybody go ahead and select an answer and put it in the chat. All right, so the heavy contenders were B, C, and D, or people debating, like having the right one, but wanting to go over wrong ones. So let's start with A. So A says, when technology is advancing rapidly, regular training is needed to keep up with one's skills at a professional level. Like, cool. That doesn't have anything to do with, like, that would be a terrible response. Like, oh, that's almost like playing into Parent Q, where it's like, they're gonna have to put all this work in anyways. Why start now? E says, once people have graduated from high school, they have less time to learn about computers and technology. Well, but cool, but that doesn't mean that they should learn in kindergarten if it's just going to change. I wanted to pick D. Like in my heart, I was like, that's how I would respond. But the reason that this one is wrong is it says automobile technology is continuing advancing too, but that does not result in one's having to relearn to drive cars as the new advances are incorporated. We can't compare automobile technology to computers. It's not the same thing. Like it's alluding to that prediction that I had, but like just because we have this other technology that has changed and doesn't require it doesn't guarantee that computers would be the same way. I get that you're hinting at it's possible, but it's not strong enough to weaken this. It's not enough. All right, and then B says throughout history, people have adapted to change. And there's no reason to believe that today's children are not equally capable of adapting to technology as it advances. So even though children are, let's say, are capable of adapting to technology as it advances, does that mean that we should introduce it in kindergarten? What is P's reasoning for why we should not introduce it in kindergarten?
Because technology changes. The skills that they learn, I mean, right? So
today kindergartens and
the be obsolete.
Computer language taught in high schools will be obsolete by the time. Yeah, like he's saying that like we don't like it's not necessary, that it's a waste of time, that where even if they can adapt to new technologies, does that make it have a purpose in kindergarten? Anna, is that a good explanation of why B is wrong or not really?
Because I thought,
So like even if we can so we're like P is saying like it's pointless because things change. But we're trying to respond with why they should, like, why do they need to learn in kindergarten? Is it better to why we need to learn in kindergarten because we're able to adapt to new technology? Or is it better that we need to learn in kindergarten because it will increase our ability overall?
yeah, C is more like the prediction that I actually made. But I thought that's why I jumped, like I went with B at first because I was like, it was saying like there's no reason that like children aren't capable of adapting to it, but like as it advances, since it was saying that it'll change, so but I understand now. I
Maybe
see.
if they can adapt quickly, this is like, well, why do they need to learn in kindergarten and not high school? And they'll just adapt quickly then.
Got it. Okay.
Where so B kind of can go either way, where C is specifically saying this is why we need it in kindergarten, because it's just going to increase their ability long term. So it's like more specific, targeting like P's reasoning and why we need it. Excellent.